name's Anna and I'm sorting my life out. Hello friends, I am re-recording this video because I did it towards the end of last week. It is Tuesday today. I feel like it's always Tuesday when I do filming. Yeah, I filmed last week and did loads of editing and it was basically ready to go onto YouTube, and then my phone did one of those automatic backup things to my Gmail, Google Drive, and removed the bit of footage that I'd inserted into the video on my video editor, and now it won't let me re-download it to put it back in. So I've given up. I've tried so many things to get it to work, and I've given up, and I am just re-recording because I don't have the time, and I'm ready to record another video which I will now have to do in a different time. I might do it this afternoon. Anyway, I wanted to, I think I said last time that I would record some videos about where I'm at with different bits of life, mostly the things that I want to get sorted in my Getting It Sorted Out series, as it were. I will be doing a video, the next one that I'm ready to record is about my no-buy year in 2024, and I was going to do that first, but actually that is kind of something that's come up as a secondary thing for this channel, and I'm really keen to do it, and I think it will be really good for me and an interesting thing to chat about. But I didn't want it to become the sole focus, because I really set up the channel because I want to get my life sorted out, and that is part of it, which I'll explain in that video. But there are lots of other things going on that I'm kind of trying to that I'm trying to kind of get into a better place with. So yeah, that's coming up, but I wanted to chat firstly about my mental health. So the main reason, I guess, that I need to sort my life out is because my mental health has been very unpredictable and frankly quite bad for a long time. I've been being treated for depression and anxiety for about 7 or 8 years. I can't remember exactly. And for a portion of that, kind of the majority of that time, I've been medicated, which works well for me, but doesn't completely remove all of the symptoms. So I'm still kind of susceptible, is that the word? Susceptible to really low periods, and sometimes that's a day, sometimes it's an afternoon, sometimes it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or longer. So it's, I mean, I dread to think what life would be like if I wasn't medicated, to be quite honest. But I am still very much in that kind of up and down flow of having mental health struggles. Now, one of the things I wanted to say is that I am really aware that mental health struggles covers a huge range of stuff. You know, I'm not sure that I really need to say this. I shouldn't need to say this, but I'm going to. I know that I do not have the worst mental health issues. You know, there's no competition as far as I'm concerned, but when I'm talking about it, I am aware that this is just my experience, and that there are people dealing with a lot more severe symptoms, a lot more complicated situations, I'm sure. So please know that this isn't me being self-indulgent. I'm just being real with you about how this has affected my life. So where we're at the moment is that I've, as I said, been being treated for about 7-8 years. I've done talking therapy. I've been being medicated for some time now. I have had some privately paid for, not counselling, but kind of almost coaching when I was having a difficult time kind of coming out of lockdown, I suppose. That would have been 2021, I think I had that. I haven't had any since, although I would quite like to. My hand's going to get tired. I'm just going to give it a bit of a stretch. Actually check that I hope I'm in shot. I recorded a load of stuff the other day and realised that I'd chopped the top of my head off. I must be. So yes, I haven't had any talking therapy now for a couple of years, although I'm really fortunate that I've got a few really amazing friends and family that I frequently talk to about how I'm doing, or talk to when I'm having a bad time. And I find that very helpful. I obviously don't treat them as professional counsellors, but they're people that really get me and what my head does when it's not in a great place. And I'm really, really grateful for those people, because I know how lonely it can be when you're depressed or struggling with something that feels like you shouldn't be struggling with it, which is kind of the main theme of my depression, really, especially in the last couple of years, which is that I just feel like I should be better by now. And I shouldn't be struggling with basic adulting, which is how it feels a lot of the time. So yeah, that is kind of where we're at. And it's weird, actually, because obviously I'm really grateful that I'm recovering, that I have days that are good, that I have periods of time where I feel more like my old self. I'm so grateful for the effects of medication and the fact that that's accessible to me. I'm really grateful for my husband. He's made a huge difference. And that's partly because of where the depression originated, which very much had to do with chronic loneliness, basically. And I'll talk about that another time, I think. Should I talk about it now? Yeah, I guess I can talk about it now. So when I had counselling, again, I had probably been in a pretty bad place for some time. This is why I find it difficult to think about how long it's been, because it took me a long time to go to the doctor and say I need help. And they referred me to IAPT, which is one of the NHS services here in the UK. And they set me up with a counsellor who I saw for about 12 weeks, I think. That's the standard kind of provision. And we talked a lot about what was going on in my life at the time. And at this stage, I'd been living alone, I think, for about 5 years, maybe. Out of choice. I'd moved into somewhere when I stopped studying, basically. Moved into somewhere on my own, having been in a shared house for, again, about 6 years, I think. And I was ready to have my own space, and I was working from home and needed to have my office at home, and so that all made sense for me. And I lived alone in a way very happily. I loved having my own space, and being able to do what I wanted to do with my time. But alongside all of that was the fact that I'd also always been single. I know this is unusual, but my first boyfriend was the man I'm now married to, and I didn't meet him until I was 35. There are lots of reasons for that which aren't very interesting. Mainly, I went to an all-girls school and we lived in the sticks, so I didn't really socialise outside of school, so I didn't meet many boys, blah, blah, blah. And then, well, who knows what the other reasons are. I didn't know what the reasons were, and I very much thought it was to do with me, there being something chronically wrong with me, I suppose. Anyway, this is all going a bit too much detail, but I was very, very lonely. I'd had a couple of kind of, I don't want to say unrequited love, that sounds very dramatic, but essentially that was what the situation was. A couple of situations where I really felt like something was going to happen with a particular person, and then it didn't, and I really found that very difficult, and really took that as a hit to it was a massive hit to my self-esteem, I guess, and my kind of hope for the future. It really was horrible, and that kind of loneliness was a huge part of what triggered my depression. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time, but this is what we figured out. But through the process of counselling, this is where it had come from. And there was a lot of other stuff going on. I happened to be part of a friendship circle, a wider friendship circle of people that were all getting married, having babies, or at least in a relationship. And so my weekends were very quiet because a lot of my friends were off with their kids doing stuff, taking them to football, taking them to parties, meeting up with other people with children for play dates and stuff. And I have wonderful, wonderful friends, don't get me wrong, but I just generally found it all very difficult. And I felt very lonely. because of working from home for myself, there were sometimes weeks, Monday to Friday, where I literally didn't see another human. And that is just not good for me. So I don't think it's good for anybody, but, you know, we're built for connection, and I definitely am a person that needs that kind of connection in my life. So this is where the mental health thing started. So meeting my husband and all the validation that came with that, and I am not saying that we need men or partners to validate our self-worth, but knowing that somebody could love me the way I was, could be attracted to me the way I was a massive breakthrough for me, and it still is. I still find it incredible in lots of ways, even though my self-confidence is massively increased. That's another video to come. But yes, so my husband has been a huge part of me getting better. But I think all of this has made me realise that it wasn't always just about circumstance. And obviously, the reason my medication works is because I have a chemical imbalance. That kind of baseline level of stress and sadness is hormone and chemical related, and that needs rebalancing. And there's lots that you can do lifestyle wise to sort of start to address that, but when you're depressed you don't want to do those things, and that's kind of the issue that I've been having in terms of trying to balance how I tackle my mental ill health for myself. I don't know if that made sense. So over the years I've done lots of different things. There have been periods where I've exercised really regularly. There's been periods where I've journaled non-stop sometimes. That was like my lifesaver at one stage. And I tend to kind of try out different little hobbies. So like this time last year I was doing lots of illustration, which I kind of want to get back into. I like creative writing, I like photography, and all these things lift my mood, give me a bit more purpose, give me a creative outlet, which is really good for me. And in the times where I have, for example, been really sociable, been on top of my housework, felt like I was ahead at work, not kind of trailing behind trying to keep up with admin and stuff, things have been better. But those periods of time have been few and far between, largely because the last few years, just like everybody else, has been mental. We had sorry, I realise that isn't the best way to put that. It's been wild, hasn't it? We've had the pandemic. During the pandemic, we got married 2021. We bought a house at the end of 2021. Then the last few years since then, my sisters have been getting married, having babies, and all of these things are wonderful, but it just means that life hasn't really been normal in any kind of a way. And yeah, I think for that reason, I feel like there's been no consistency in, well, any area of life really, but certainly in terms of my mental health and my approach to dealing with it. It hasn't been very consistent. I've tried lots of things. Sometimes they've worked, and I basically have to keep starting again. And that's where we're at. We're at another start again. And recently I was reading a journal that I randomly found when I was looking through a box for something. And it was from maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I was writing about how I felt like I couldn't make any sustainable change or consistent change in my life. And that really saddened me, because I realised that the way I'm feeling now about my ability to make new habits or get rid of old ones or whatever has been something that I've felt for at least 12 years. Which, probably thinking back, it's maybe been there my whole life. And maybe that's just because of who I am, and there are things that I don't... I don't recognise in myself that maybe lead to that. Maybe I need to give up on the idea. I don't know. But what I do know is that having some kind of structure to my week that means I'm doing what I need to do for work, doing what I need to do for self-care, which I'll come on to, doing what I need to do to have a happy home life, and a functioning household, which obviously those three things cover a lot of stuff, but I need to work out a way to fit those things, all of those things, into my life, and I'm including kind of health and wellness in that as well. And at the moment, I know that if I'm doing well at one of those things, I'm not doing well at the others necessarily. Maybe two at a time is my limit, really, and that's because my capacity, energy-wise, focus-wise, in terms of brain function and what's the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, let's just say focus. They are not where they need to be. I've forgotten what I was saying. Basically, I know I need to take this slowly, and that is why I've titled this video the way I have, because one of the things I've found to be true for me is that lowering my standards helps me a massive deal. Lowering my standards helps me massively. What I mean by that is not that I lower the standard of how I treat myself or lower my standard for how clean I want my house to be, but it means lowering my standard of what I expect of myself, basically, whether that's in 1 week or in 1 day or in 1 hour. Now, there's been a lot of self-development going into that. There's been a lot of reading, discovery, reflection that has gone into getting to this point. And it all sounds very simple, doesn't it? But I think we all hold ourselves to a high standard in lots of areas of life. We are much nicer to our friends and family than we are to ourselves a lot of the time. And I think I have a tendency to consider myself to be very lazy, to consider myself to be doing a bad job at everything in life. One of the things I say to myself all the time is I'm a failure. And something I also say to myself, and I say it to my husband about myself, is that I'm a terrible person. I can't keep on track of anything. I can't keep on top of anything. I cancel stuff with my friends. I struggle to get off the sofa. I struggle to get out of bed, blah, 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 blah. I am the queen of telling myself that I'm rubbish. And which is odd, because I'm also really confident in who I am and really confident that I am capable of doing all the things that I should be doing really well. The problem is I'm just not doing them. Now, the funny thing is that one of my jobs currently, I'll talk about the career change another time, but one of my jobs currently is being a personal assistant, executive assistant to a few different people, organising stuff for them, being their admin person, etc. And I'm really good at that. I just need to be better at it for myself. And I think that's probably true of so many things in life, isn't it? That we can be on time for work, but being on time for personal appointments doesn't work like that, kind of thing. I'm slightly rambling here. So let me give you some examples of how I've lowered my standards. I have, with housework, I have stopped trying to stick to any kind of plan. Realistically, I'm not going to go from somebody who occasionally manages to get their housework done to somebody who gets everything done every day of the week and their house is immaculate. It isn't going to happen, ever. And if I try to make it happen, nothing else in my life will get done. So what I am currently doing is that when something when something takes my fancy, I was going to say, but that's not really the right way to explain it. But when something occurs to me, I do it. And that might be something really small. So recently, I was looking out the window on a really nice, clear, sunny day, blue skies, crisp, cold weather. It was beautiful outside. And I noticed that my dogs had left loads of nose marks all over the front window that I was looking through. And it was gross. And I thought, I need to clean that window. Now, if I put cleaning windows on a list of things that I needed to get done in a week, there is absolutely no way I'd ever get to it. Because, hoovering bits of stick that the dogs have brought in off the floor, or cleaning the kitchen counters, or putting a load of laundry on is always going to be more important to me than cleaning the window. But in that moment, it was ruining my experience of looking out the window. And so I went and got something from the kitchen, I cleaned the window, and I sat down and carried on working and enjoyed the view out the window. Now, that sounds a bit basic, but in the past, it's funny because I think about how I would have dealt with it, but I think I probably just would have thought, oh, well, I'll get to that at some point, and it would have carried on bothering me. And that's the same for, like, there'd been a drawer in my kitchen that was really, really annoying me because I could never find what I was looking for. I knew there was stuff in there that I needed, and I could never find it because it's such a mess and it's a really deep drawer. And so one afternoon I was just like, right, I'm just going to get this sorted. And so I sat down for half an hour, got rid of the rubbish that was in there, reorganised stuff, put stuff in some Tupperware tubs to make it all divided up, and it looked much better. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, it still looks pretty good. So that's kind of what I mean, is like, something is bothering me, so I deal with it. This sounds so ridiculously simple. I don't know why. Why am I on YouTube telling you about this? I suppose the point is that I've tried to clean one room a day, or I've tried to do half an hour every day to get the essentials done. I've tried to, I don't know, I've tried various techniques for keeping the house clean. And I should say, by the way, my husband is incredible. He does cooking basically every night of the week. He makes our sandwiches for work. He does a lot of the laundry on a Friday, which is his day off. He does kind of a general hoovers everywhere, mops if that's necessary, cleans like the mats by the front door and that kind of thing. And yeah, he is brilliant. So it is not the case that the whole of the housework load is on me. It's not. He does way more than I do in a lot of ways. But I am like the deep clean person. I am the change the bed sheets person. I am the clean the bathroom person out of the two of us. So if I don't do those things, they probably won't get done. And that's okay. We live with that. Quite often somebody coming around for lunch or something is what pushes us to do these things. But I don't want it to be that way because that's stressful. And again, I'm rambling. So yeah, I've tried a lot of things over the years to keep me on track with housework, and they haven't really worked. I've realised that what does work is me thinking, oh, I should really do that today, and then just doing it if I, in that moment, have the time, or putting it on my list for the day, even though it's a random thing that maybe seems like it doesn't matter. The more I do that, the more drawers I sort out, the more windows I clean, the more spillages I mop up, or what? Well, no, that's not a good example. But the more I do these little things, yesterday I changed the bed sheets because I wanted to sit up there and work, and I was conscious they hadn't been done for a while and it didn't feel cozy, so I just changed them, and that's probably something I would have just carried on putting off otherwise. So the more I do these things, the more the house will kind of get to a better place, I think. I hope that makes some sense in terms of lowering my standard. I'm trying to think. There was something else that... What else have I lowered my standard on? Another example of how I've lowered my standard in order to help my mental health. Maybe this doesn't fall under that category in quite the same way, but like, I try and take the path of least resistance. So one of the things that I really struggle with when I'm low is personal hygiene, being really honest. I know this is really common for people. Brushing my teeth goes out the window when I'm really bad. Showering goes out the window when I'm really bad. And I can take full advantage of that because my hair only ever really needs washing about, realistically, once a week. I tend to do it twice, but I'm very lucky it doesn't get greasy quickly. It doesn't need doing, especially in the winter when it's not hot and I'm not sweating as much. I can get away with not washing my hair more than once a week. So that means that I can, in my head, get away with not showering more than once a week, which is grim and isn't really true. My poor husband has to share a bed with me. Now, I'm not a particularly gross person in that way, but I feel less good about myself when I haven't showered, even though I don't want to be bothered to do it. So, one of the things that I do for path of least resistance is have wet wipes. Now, this is a whole other story, but basically I try not to buy wipes because of the eco consequences, but I allow myself to have a pack of body wipes, or I think they call them freshlets or something weird, in the bathroom, that when I'm feeling really gross, I can refresh myself without having to shower. And this is not a choice between having a shower and using wipes. This is a choice between being gross and using wipes. I hope that is clear. Actually, at the moment, I am finding it fairly straightforward to shower twice a week. No, pretty much every other day. But in the times when that's not easy, wipes I use. Same for having disposable toothbrushes, one-time use toothbrushes. Again, awful for the environment. I absolutely hate the idea of them. But if it means I brush my teeth and look after them, then I'm okay with that. The other thing I've done is trying to kind of lean into the bits of those things that I enjoy. So I quite often shower towards the end of the afternoon. I don't know why, it's just become something that I do, kind of as I'm finishing work. Sorry, my hand's spasming for some reason. And I've started not putting the light on and just having a candlelit shower, and it's so lovely. And it for some reason, makes it so much more of an enjoyable experience. So yeah, give that a go if you struggle with showering. So yeah, I guess I know there's only a couple of examples, but that's what I mean when I say that I'm lowering my standard. I'm holding myself to a much simpler way of dealing with the things that I struggle with. And it works. There are other examples like not forcing myself to get up at some silly hour in the morning. I am not a morning person. I need my sleep. At the moment, I'm struggling to get to sleep well, so I let myself sleep, and then I work later, or I work in the evening when my husband's gone to bed, because he gets up early in the morning. And that works for me. I know that this isn't kind of applicable to everybody, because I know that being self-employed means I have that flexibility, but it is working for me, and all I can do is tell you what's working for me. So I've allowed myself, I've accepted that I am me. There are some things that work for others that are never going to work for me, and that's okay. And I'm just making choices that work well for the kind of person that I am, with the kind of energy levels I have, with the kind of with the kind of capacity I have for doing anything. So yes, that's where I'm at mental health. Well, that's where I'm at with one aspect of mental health, I suppose. It affects every area of my life, so I guess it's going to come up in other videos that I do about different things that I'm kind of trying to work on. And I guess what I've taught today, kind of self-care and housework, is just one or two elements of that. But I hope that gives you kind of an idea of what I'm working on. And what I'm planning to do is take you along for those random moments of cleaning that I do, or random moments of organisation that I do, whether it's decluttering something or sorting out my filing for work or something. I'll take you along. And I guess my main message is, it is okay if these things are difficult for you. Don't be ashamed. That is not your fault. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you bad at your job. It doesn't make you lazy. It just means that you're struggling. And believe me, so many of us are. I think that's what I've learned from watching more and more YouTube, is just that it seems to be a bit of a chronic problem for lots of people. And maybe that's just a sign of modern life and us all trying to fit too much in. I don't know. But it's okay. Please give yourself a break and find the way that works for you. Don't get caught up in having to do things the way everyone else does them. Don't get caught up in thinking that your house being perfectly clean at all times is a sign of your achievement or success or validity in life. It isn't. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize your mental well-being. Prioritize what makes you feel good, even if that is cleaning one window on a Tuesday afternoon because your dogs have made a mess. Even if that is having a nap at 3 o'clock every afternoon because that's what gets you through. Even if that is working in the evenings instead of in the mornings. Whatever it is, if you can make those choices and you have that level of control over your working life, for example, please take them. Put yourself first. It is not worth burning out over a job. It is not worth beating yourself up mentally for in order to have a socially acceptable, beautiful home. It's just not worth it. I hope this has been useful. I hope it's given you some insight into why I need to sort my life out. There is a lot going on in my house that needs sorting out. You will find that out in the next few months. Lots of rooms to tidy, lots of washing to put away, lots of DIY jobs to finish. This is not a perfect house by any stretch of the imagination. We do not do perfection here. Certainly I don't. We are just living a normal life, and we sometimes can be bothered to do stuff and other times we can't. So yeah, hopefully you'll see a bit of realism here. And I will see you in my next video, which hopefully will be about the no buy year, why I'm doing it, and maybe why you should too. And I'm probably going to go over my rules that I'm setting myself in the next video too. So tune in for that. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. It is going to help this stuff get out to other people who might benefit from it. And it gives me an idea of how interested people are in what I'm saying, which is great. So yeah, subscribe if you can. Why am I saying if you can? You can. You just need to press a button. It won't affect your life in any way, apart from hopefully positively. Like the video to kind of give me an idea of whether or not you're enjoying it, and leave me a comment if you fancy too. That would be great. Have a good week. I'm hoping to get the next video out before Christmas Day. In fact, I'm really keen to video it to record it, so I'm sure I will. But if not, I'll see you after Christmas. Have a lovely, peaceful Christmas, and don't forget to put yourself first. Good. I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.